Hey guys, welcome to another tutorial. I was asked a while back by a longtime subscriber to work on a helicopter controller. And the reason it took me so long is I like to use free controllers for this. And this one was in no way, shape, or form able to be used as is as a VR controller. So I ended up having to rewrite pretty much about 80% of the controller to get it to where it worked well in VR. So we got a setup here. I got a start button. We're gonna start up our motor. I've never driven I've never flown a helicopter before, so I had to go by reading, and I even got a button to keep the music in case you want the music. So we've got our lift controls up and down. You can level out your altitude. From what I'm reading, that's the way a helicopter works. You got your left and right tilt. You've got your pedal controls. I've got those on my triggers. So left, so you can spin right, and you can control the speeds of all this stuff. And we got forwards and backwards. And let's go back down for a landing. So anyway, I wanted to give you guys a basic controller that you could build off of for free. So if that interests you, stick with me. Alright, so I'm just in the sample scene here. Don't pay attention to these folders. I was getting way too many projects doing all these tutorials, so I just decided to start making them all in one project. I've already installed BNG framework. What you're going to need is you're going to need the base helicopter controller, and it looks like this. It's free on the Unity Asset Store. I'm not going to go into a lot of great detail with the controller script on this. It's all one script. I'll leave it in the description. Like I said, I pretty much had to rewrite the entire thing, so I'll briefly go over it so you kind of understand what's going on in the script. But like I said, it's not even close to being the original setup. So go ahead and download that and import it. And what you do, you have this helicopter folder. So let's go into helicopter, and then let's just go into free ride. You can save this as another scene if you want, or if you want to keep the original scene, but I'm just going to work in this scene. So after you've downloaded it, go ahead and save your work often. The UI, we can delete it. The control panel, we can delete it. And the event system, we can delete it. And the follow camera, right? Is that all we need, right? Yep. Sounds, helicopter, and scene. So follow camera, you can get rid of that. Go into your assets, go into BNG framework, go into prefabs, go into player. I'm just going to use the XR rig, so click on scene. And let's put him in here somewhere where he's not too far away from the helicopter. That works. Pull him up. And ta-da. Okay. So the first thing is this helicopter is really tiny. So see what size I made mine. Just go ahead and size it up. I'm going to make it 3. Okay, and then let's just lift it up out of the ground. And it's got this capsule collider we'll need to get out of our way, so you can just you can get rid of that. Remove component, and then we're going to add a box collider. You'll have to go through and make colliders for this that works for you getting a player in and out. I'm just going to add a box collider. So I'm going to edit it and pull this down. Just kind of make a platform out of it. Not going to be perfect with it, but you technically don't even need this. It has colliders on the whatever these are called, the rails. But hey, might as well get started now with some colliders. Okay, good enough. No, maybe not. Alright, that works for me. And we're going to need a destination in our seat, so go ahead and right click and then add a empty. And we will call this, rename, we'll call this seat destination. Just kind of ballpark it in here. Wrong side. We need to be on this side. Put him in there. Oh, he's way out of the way. Come on up here, buddy. This thing doesn't have separated seats, so I can't click on the seat and then just put it where it needs to go. So just kind of ballpark it in about where you think it needs to be. You can come back and change it after we start getting in and out. So it needs to be in there somewhere. That works for now. And then we're going to duplicate it. Control duplicate it, and we're going to rename this to exit destination. And then just pull it out here somewhere. That's probably good enough. And you can mess around with where you want that to be as well. On this, I'm going to do a little bit different. I'm going to use a teleport destination, a BNG teleport destination, to actually trigger this whole thing. So let's go into our prefabs, and then let's see, it's right here. So we'll just pull this up and teleport destination. Put it in there somewhere. That works. And then just make it a child of your helicopter. Okay, so now we need a script. Let's go ahead and do our enter and exit scripts. So back over to assets, make a new folder, create a new folder, and we'll call this helicopter. Helicopter scripts. I spelled that right? Yeah, helicopter, yeah. And we'll make a new script. Let's see. We'll call this enter helicopter. And at the top, you need using BNG, and I'll make these available in the description. I just want to go over these briefly because I've changed the way I'm getting in and out of this thing compared to my previous tutorials. And I don't know if you noticed or not, I've just been trying to give you different types of ways to get in and out of these things for every single one that I do. You can actually use any of them that you want. I'm paying attention to this yet. We haven't made this script yet. But basically, we're just getting our game objects, our player controller, our vehicle, which is the helicopter, our seat destination, which is the empty we made, our enter trigger, which is going to be our teleport destination that we're using. And on this, I'm going to use a calibrate player height, which is a BNG script to set our height getting in and out. And this one's also going to have a screen fade so that your screen will fade. It'll blink just like when you're teleporting when you get in. And then we're going to disable our hand collision models. you're still going to have to pick what hand model that you want to use. And the thing is if you, well, we'll go over that here in a second. We're going to get our seat rotation in position and store it here. When we enter the vehicle, it's going to pop it in there, and then this is just how we're going to teleport our player. So we're going to teleport our player to our seat destination. I was trying to use the BNG teleport to do this, and for some reason it would keep hitting the rigid body on whatever vehicle I was trying to go into. And for some reason when I do it this way, it works just fine. So you can play around with the BNG teleport to do it instead if you would like, but this works just as well. This is where we're going to set the height, and this is how all the stuff we're going to disable on our player controller so we can't move around while we're in the helicopter. We're going to transform the parent to the helicopter, and then we're going to set a bool in the vehicle, which is in our other script that we haven't made yet, to true, to let it know that we are actually in the helicopter. Our hand model collisions are, these are the hand collision script that is on your model. So in this, I'm just grabbing it by looking through all those models. But the thing about this is it's only going to find the one that's enabled. So you're still going to have to choose a hand model that you want to use. If you get in the vehicle with one hand model and it disables it, if you switch your hand model while you're in there and then you get out, it's not going to re-enable it on the hand model that you disabled it on, because it's not going to be enabled at that point. So just pick a hand model and stick with it. So when we trigger this thing, we're going to trigger enter, and then we're going to our screen fade is going to fade to black, which is what fade in means. And then it's going to set a speed, fade in speed, and then it's going to start a creatine fade out. And it's going to wait for 0.2 seconds. Then enter vehicle. It's going to run our method up here, and then the screen fade. It's going to make it to where we can see again, and then it's going to set our teleport destination to false, so we can't see it while we're in the helicopter. Hopefully that all made sense. If you know C#, this shouldn't be that difficult to read. So I'm just trying to explain it for the new guys. Okay, so save that up, and let's go back into Unity, and then we'll make a new script. We're going to call this exit helicopter. Okay, at the top we're going to need using BNG, and then we're going to need using Unity engine.xr. We need this because I've given this a new feature, and we'll go over it when we get to it. We're going to need our game objects again: XR rig, player controller, vehicle, our inner teleport destination that we're using to get in. Our exit destination, which is the empty, that's where we're going to teleport to when we get out. Our tracking space, so we can reset it so that it'll set us up right if we're, sideways when we jump out or whatever. This will set us up right when we get out. And then we're going to calibrate our height using the Calibrate player height script from BNG. We're going to need a quaternion initial rotation and a vector 3 initial position, because we're going to save whatever our tracking space's position and rotation was before we got in. So when we get out, we can reset it to what it was. Public bool in the vehicle will be equal to false, which is, we're going to start at false. We're actually setting that from over here. And as you can see, the red has gone away. Let me get the rest of this stuff out of the way. That's from the other tutorials. That way you're not confused with what are all these scripts up here. Okay. Again, we're going to get our hand collision models, same as before. It's just going to do the opposite. We're going to get our tracking space's initial rotation and position. Again, we're going to store it on start so we know what it was before we got in. And that way when we get out, we can reset it to whatever it was. This is a height. So if you go out of bounds below 75, so our Y position, so if you go below 0 by 75 meters or cubes, and in the vehicles equals true. So we're in it and we're below 75, it's going to throw us out. Or if we're in the vehicle equals true and we hit our X button, it'll get us out. So you can hit your X button to get out of the helicopter. Okay, so, and then it's going to screen fade. If either of these happen, it'll screen fade us out. So we'll fade to black, and then it's going to start our exit coroutine. This is the new feature I was talking about. This is the self-setting centering. If this works for you, if you hit your left thumbstick down, it'll recenter your position while you're in the helicopter. So if you find you've changed spacing or you've had to switch seats or whatever, but you're still playing, you could click in on your left thumbstick and it'll recenter you and put you back on the seat destination. If you feel like you're a little too close, just lean back a little bit and then click the button. It's basically removing the world around wherever your head's at. So if you like this feature, keep it. If not, you can delete all of this if you don't want to keep it, or if it just doesn't work. This is all just trying to recenter, so it moves everything around where your headset's at. I actually have a video that's completely dedicated to this script right here. Exit CR, it's going to wait for seconds, and then it's going to run our exit vehicle, which is all the stuff we need to do when we get out, and then it's going to do a fade out. So it's our vision's going to come back. It's going to fade from black to where we can see our screen again. So it's a blink just like the teleport. And then it's just going to set our parent back to the XR rig from the helicopter, and then it's going to kick our position out to our exit destination. It's going to re-enable all this stuff, and then it's going to reset our tracking space. This stuff's all on our character controller. This is just all the stuff that enables you to move. And then it's going to re-enable our teleport destination so that we can see it again, so we can actually get back in it. And then it's going to calibrate our height back to whatever it was, to 1.65. You can change these to whatever you want, or you could set them to a bool. Right now I've just got them set to their defaults, but just know that that's where they're at. So when I'm getting in on my inner helicopter, where's it at? Where's my height? It's right here. So I'm just calibrating the height down to 1, and then over here I'm calibrating it back to 1.65, which is what it is by default. It's like a little under 6 foot tall. And then it's just going to find our hand collision. If it's not equal to null, then it's going to set it back to true. And then it's going to set our bool in the vehicle back to false. So hopefully all that made sense. So let's come back into Unity. Reload our scripts here. So now let's go up to our first thing, go up to our player controller. And then we're going to add a script. We're going to add, what's it called? Calibrate player height. You can see the default is 1.65. That's all you got to do. Just add it. Okay, so now let's go down to our teleport destination. And let's add inner helicopter to it. Needs our player controller. Where you at? Player controller. Needs our vehicle, which is our helicopter. Needs our seat destination, which is down here. Needs our inner trigger, which is our teleport destination. It needs our seat height, our set height, which is on our player controller. That's that script that we just added. It needs our screen fader. That's on our camera. Center eye. And don't worry about this. This is just where it's getting a list of our hand models. Matter of fact, we can make that private. I just had it up to when I was debugging it to make sure that it was actually grabbing them. So right here, oh, it is private. Okay, so it's just going to show us a list anyway. Okay, and then let's go to our seat destination, and let's put exit helicopter on there. And then it needs our XR rig. Needs our player controller. Needs our vehicle, which is our helicopter. Needs our inner trigger, which is our teleport destination. Needs our exit destination. It's where we're going to teleport when we get out. Our tracking space. So way back up here, tracking space, where are you? Tracking space needs our set height, which is on our player controller, and it needs our screen fader. And this is here for debugging in the vehicle. Our fader's on our center eye anchor. I'll save. Okay, next we're going to need our controller. So we're going to say create a new C# script, and I'll leave this in the description because we're completely replacing just the whole controller. So VR helicopter controller. Is that what I called it? Doesn't really matter. That's what we're going to call it. And we're going to need do I need anything? I know I need BNG. Let's see. Yep. Using BNG. And copy and paste this. Like I said, I'm not going to go over this a whole lot. If you want to compare the script to the original, you'll see how different it actually is. Essentially, the way this controller worked out of the box is it had a whole nother controller which just allowed you to assign keys from your keyboard to everything. And basically I had to go through and reassign all of that stuff to our vectors and our changes on our joysticks and on our thumbsticks, and all that stuff was changed. And then I had to make it so basically when you first started up, it would shoot off to 100 feet, and then when you hit a button, it was just setting stuff true and false pretty much, and then it was just going there automatically. So it was not set up to be able to use for VR whatsoever at all. So there was a lot of rewriting to this to actually pass values through the script that would change depending on how far you pushed your joystick or how far you held your triggers in, or etc., so that it actually flew the way it felt right instead of just like, you know, automatically 0 to 100. And the main stuff that got changed was in the lift process for the actual script, where I actually had to lerp it to make it not so bouncy. So that's different. So go ahead and read it, but just consider this as my gift to you. I put a lot of work into it to make it actually work for VR, but you can have it. Makes a good basic script. At the bottom, we're going to have a start button. So we're going to connect this up to a button so that we can start the helicopter up and then turn it off, which you saw me do in the video. So after you get that, just go ahead and save it up. And then let's come back into Unity. And let's come over to our helicopter. And we're going to take our helicopter controller and throw it over there. And then we're going to figure out what all we need here. Oh, it's not giving me my publics. Of course not. Why would you? And if it does that, just do a quick edit. And hopefully it will load the scripts. There we go. Okay, so we need our helicopter sound, which is here. And we don't need a control panel. We need our helicopter model, which is getting the model. Then we need our main rotor controller, which is here. And it needs our screw back. And this is set up so that when you use a model, you can get rid of this model altogether. You can skin it if you want, but this has it to where it'll animate the rotor and stuff like that on your model. So you could actually get rid of this model altogether and then just throw my script on there, and it should work. I haven't skinned this thing or tested that out yet, but it should work just fine. So their controller, let's just get rid of it. And there we go. Now on the rigid body, when you guys are flying these things, you'll notice that you'll probably get stutter. If you come to the rigid body and change it to interpolate, I guess that's how you pronounce that. And if you're wondering what that is, I'm wondering if I brought that up or not. But basically, it's I actually closed it. I had it up here. Well, hey, we're in the video. Let's just look it up. Let's see. Google. Unity. Interpolate. What does that mean? Interpolation allows you to smooth out the effect of running physics at a fixed frame rate. By default, interpolation is turned off. Commonly, rigid body interpolation is used for player characters. Well, when we get in the helicopter, it is a character. So basically, it just smooths out the graphics of your rigid body when you're working with physics, which is what we're doing. We're pushing the rigid body around. So by switching, it's going to help smooth it out. Just a little FYI for you guys. If you're ever wondering what something is, Google is your friend. So, file, save. Let's see, what else do I need to do? Oh yeah, we got to set up our joysticks. So let's come in here and go to Assets, BNG Framework. Go into our prefabs, and we need the vehicle joystick. This one, there's two of them, but you need the vehicle. So let's just drop that in there. And we'll pull this over here, and let's see. This one we'll call our, rename this to, actually I didn't want to do that. Don't want to do that. Don't drop it directly on it, because then it changes the scale. You need to go away. You're on my screen. Okay, so let me go back into BNG Framework, go back into my prefabs, grab my joystick, and I'm just going to slap it right there. Okay, and then I'm going to rename this one to up, down, joystick. Sure. Okay, so grab my up, down joystick. Let's put it in here. We'll get a helicopter. Come here, you. And then our rotation will be -90. Yep, and pull it out there to where it'll be pretty much in between your legs. Like I said, you can come back and change it to however you want. You'll have to change it when you skin the thing anyway. And for this one, let's see. Open up. Open up. And for this one, we're going to come down to our on vector change. And take the helicopter, pull it over, that's where our script's at. Come down to my helicopter control and pitch roll up under dynamic vector 2. So pitch roll. File, save. Did I put anything else on this? I don't think I did. I didn't restrict it at all. Okay, so now let's just duplicate it and oops. Control duplicate. It's in the same spot, and bring him up here, and then we'll rename this one to our, this is actually not our up down, I'm going to rename this to our pitch roll stick. I'm going to rename this one to our, oh, it's already named. Sorry guys. Alright. We'll pull this over here in the middle somewhere, pull it up a little bit so it's easy to get to. Like I said, it's going to be changed whenever you (180) on both of them. That way it's in the correct orientation for our up-down movement. And if you come down here, we need to set our X angle to 0 to 45. That way it just goes from here to here. That way you can't push down on it. It'll stay centered. And for our Y, we don't want it to go sideways. So just make those zeros, and then this, we're going to do an on vector change, but we're going to switch it, and we're going to use our move up down. File, save. Trying to think if there's anything else to this. We'll hop in and find out. Give me a hot second. It'll be like a split second for you. Alright, jumping the gun a little bit. If you click on your teleport destination, add one under our teleport destination, then grab enter helicopter and throw it in there, and then come down to enter helicopter, and we want enter. Now we need a couple of buttons, so let me just go in here to the prefab. We want our button. Pull that up, pull that over here, and we'll make it -90. Rename, call this start button. And let's see, while we're in here, I'm just going to move this joystick real quick. So it's like way up in front of me. That should be good enough. Okay, and then move my button over a little bit and make sure that I'm not going to hit it with my stick. And then control duplicate, and then we'll pull that over. That'll be our music button just in case you want it. I figured what the hey, it was in there, why not? And we'll rename it. Oh, no, I don't want you to be under sounds. Come back here. Rename. We'll call this music button. Okay, so now on all of these, we're going to have to create a new layer. So let's go ahead and add a layer, and we'll make it joysticks. And then for each one of these, our music button, put on layer, joysticks, yes, change children, start button. You do these all at the same time if you want to, but I'm just going to do them like this. Pitch and roll, joysticks, yes, change children, joystick, yes, change children. Our helicopter model is on default, that's fine. So if you come up to edit and go to project settings, go to physics, and where default and joysticks come together, unclick it. That way they're ignoring each other. That way they're not colliding off and the rigid bodies aren't fighting with each other. Now we can take our music button, our start button, our pitch and roll, and our up down joystick, and we can make it children of the helicopter. And let's see, and click on this button, our start button, and open it up and come down to the enter button, and then on button down, add one. And we need our helicopter, which is where our controller script is at, and then we're going to come down to helicopter control, and then we need start helicopter. And on our other one, let's see. Oh, we didn't make that script yet. So let's go ahead and make a new script. Go into my helicopter scripts here so they're all together. Create a new script, C#, and we'll say music script. Oh, come back here. Why it does that sometimes. It's rather annoying, actually. This is just a real simple script that'll trigger the music's mute. Just something fun. In case you were wondering how to play music from a button, this is how you do it. Just getting the audio source, and then a bull mute sound on start is going to get our audio source. We're going to put this on the audio source component, so it's just going to grab the audio source. And when we click the button, it's just going to set the bull, so mute sound equals mute sound true equals mute sound false. This is just switching the bull back and forth between true and false. And then if the mute sound or bull is true, then it's going to unmute our audio And if it's false, it's going to mute our audio. And then we're going to set the audio to play on start. So if we come up to our audio, helicopter, Ride of the Valkyries. Let's take our music script and throw it on there. And then, let's see. And then if we come down to our button, music button, where are you? Open it up, and go to the enter button. And we'll lock it real quick so we don't lose it. And then on button down, plus, and then come up here to the top and grab Ride of the Valkyries. Thought it was Flight of the Valkyries. What do I know? And then it is mute audio. And that's going to mute our audio on this. So we want to play on awake, and we want it to loop. Oh, no. I'm on the wrong one. That's correct. I just had this static. So click on Ride of the Valkyrie, and come in here, play on awake, loop, and then just click mute, and then turn the volume all the way up. File, save. So now it'll play on awake. Then when we unclick our button, it'll unmute it and then mute it. Let's see. What else? Is there anything else? I don't think so. Let me hop into VR and make sure it's all working. If I miss something, we'll cover it then. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to move these buttons up because they were really far down. And I want to bring them forward too. That's fine. And then on each one of these buttons, where's it at? I think it's on the enter button. If you come to the enter button, on the button script, there's allow physics forces. Untick that. That way when you're moving with a rigid body, it doesn't click in and out on you. And file save, and then, oh yeah, and then this joystick here, if we come down to return to center, we don't want it to return to center, so just change that to 0. And file save, and then let's go up to our helicopter model, down to our script here, and then we'll go over what these things do real quick, and then we'll make the settings of what I've got on my build. And then you can change it to whatever they are. Speed. You got to be careful with this one. This is how fast it adds to our engine power going up and down. If it's too great, it'll go way too fast. To be honest with you, just leave it at 0.1 and do little changes. So you can change it drastically to see what it does, but you'll get the idea. But that's mainly the speed of up and down. Max height, that's the maximum height that the helicopter will go. The way this thing works, it'll get there pretty quick at 0.1, and then probably at about 25% of what it is, it'll start slowing down, but it will eventually get to it. You could start with 100. That's probably plenty. That's not 100 feet. That's 100 cubes. So whatever Y is, it'll be 100 on your Y. So it's like 300 feet. It's probably plenty for most games. If you want to go higher, you can. Our turn force multiplier, I've got these set to 5. This is basically when you push left and right on your stick, this is as far as it'll go to. So if I'm pushing my stick a little bit, it'll only be like 1 point something and then 2 point something. I've got it working to where it goes off of how far you push the stick is how fast it moves that way, but this is a limit. I've got mine set to 5. Same thing for my forward force. I've got that set to 5. That's how fast it goes forward. Your forward tilt force, it's when you push forward, your helicopter tilts forward. That's this. I just left it as is I left it at 20. Our turn tilt force, that's how much the helicopter tilts when you push sideways. I think I halved it. But you can play with that. Turn tilt force percent. That's just a percentage that works with your triggers. You just play with it. I'm pretty sure that's what that one is. Turn force percent multiplier. This is a limit that I put on the triggers, which is your foot controls, as to how fast it'll spin you in a circle. If you go too fast, you know, obviously, you know, if you just start spinning around circles real fast, it'll make you not feel very good. And is on the ground is just a trigger to let it know that it's on the ground. So you don't worry about this. This is just there for debugging so you can tell that it's on the ground. With that, I'm going to jump into VR and check it real quick, and if everything's working, I'm pretty sure that's everything we need to do. But I'm going to check it out real quick. All right, here we are in VR. Probably not going to be able to hear the audio. I didn't hook my audio back up for this, but start button works. Music works. Let's test it out. Off we go. You see you can level out your ascending and descending. It's actually pretty stable. So 0.1 works pretty good. We've got our swing left, swing right, forward, and back. And you can adjust the tilt and all that stuff for all of this stuff. Like I said, with the rigid body, Interpolate does a pretty good job. You're not going to eliminate all the jitter. I mean, you're updating your terrain pretty fast, but it's tolerable. You'll just see it glitch every once in a while. But anyway, let's drop back down to Earth. Oh, that's what I wanted to check. Those of you guys that are interested in that recentering, if I lean over this way and I click it, it's going to try to recenter me. If I'm leaning back, it'll try to recenter me. If I lean forward, it'll pull me back. You just got to kind of be where you're going to be and then click the button, and there you are. So, oops. And knocking my head off. But anyway, you get the hang of it. If you want to use that, you can. If I don't keep hitting my button. Both buttons. Anyway, it comes in handy if you're sitting on the couch and you got to change seats. And obviously my buttons wouldn't be there. They'd be up here somewhere. So anyway, with that, I'm sorry I couldn't go into the script more in depth. Like I said, this one was really different because I had to pretty much rewrite the entire controller. But my gift to you. Thanks for joining.